down on paper, something we all perhaps think about. Now it's a book called Pieces of Tapestry. The book's being praised by local critics, and Helen Toulis, Elizabeth Bowers, and Eleanor Freemer join us now on Noonday. Thank you, Doctor, for being here with us. How did the three of you get together?
We talked about that as being a very odd story. When I taught at DeKalb College, I was invited to a writers' forum, and I went with one of my students, but I said, what am I doing here? I'm a teacher, and he's a student. What am I doing here with you? So my student says, that's okay, Dr. Toulis, you might learn something. So I went, and I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't write anything. You're supposed to write. So Dr. Green, Harris Green, who was professor of English at the time, he says, well, Helen, don't come back unless you write something. And I was going to write about my father who had died recently.
I found reading the book that there's a lot to learn. It's the kinds of things that I remember just when I was a child, listening to people. Eleanor, I wonder if there's a sense of mission on your part in sharing the stories of your life, the observations of your life, that you wanted to get it down on paper so that your kids, more importantly your grandkids, would have those stories.
My daughter was the one who encouraged me. And she says, a lot of these things our children won't remember. And I wrote about when my parents were young and growing up. And I found myself being first a child and then a mother. And unfortunately, at one time in our life, we became parent to our own parents. And I thought it was good for people to know that life goes on and you don't drop out, that you have to keep living.
Now, I want people at home to hear a little bit of the voice of this wonderful work, and its stories, and its essays, and its poetry. And Elizabeth, would you please read one of my favorites that I selected, because it's yours, and it's called Essence of Love?
I'd be happy to. Thank you. In the wind and in every leaf upon each dogwood tree is the elusive essence of love, moving through sorrows and joys, renewing the souls of creation.
You know, Elizabeth has haiku poetry in there. She never talks about it. But she is wonderful at writing haikus. And when she writes me letters, above the letter, you know, she'll write these few words, and it's another haiku, and it's written personally to me. And I think that's a good feature of the book, that it
A woman who won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction this year said she put aside her life as a writer for a while to do her family, and then came back around to the writing. Is that a common bond that the three of you share?
I think it is, in many, many ways. All of us, we're obviously at little different levels in our lives, but the thing that binds us is the fact that we love words, we love writing, and we all have a need to share who we are and who we were and who we want to be. And we chose to do it together to also show the unity of, although the fact that I'm black, they're Jewish, what we love, what we've suffered from, our hopes, our joys are the same. Beneath the skin, it's the same.
There's a universality.
Yeah, the universality of it all, yeah.
You'd had varying degrees of exposure and involvement with the publishing world before. I wonder if there... You're laughing.
Yeah, before.
We did our own publishing with this.
Yes.
We did it ourselves.
We are the publishers
How
of
much?
this book.
How much money did it cost to publish?
Please.
Oh, no, let's not discuss
All right, let's
the
not
money.
talk about that.
It really wasn't, it was reasonable though, because there are three people together doing it. And we don't consider it wasted money. We consider it education. We consider it money invested into a hobby. A lot of people go to the movies. We sit together and write.
I'd say it would be inspiring to people at home.
It's inspiring to a couple of companies that I can't name, but they're interested in using this as a college reader if we add questions and answers at each chapter, each unit. So we're working on some things that can develop from this.
And for a woman at home who's, you know, got this, maybe a journal, maybe a diary, but certainly a life of stories and stuff, it's inspiring to know that it can get done.
And you know, see, that's the thing, keeping a journal. If someone takes the time to keep a journal, because I do, I write in my journal every day, no matter what happens, you have a story.
That's great.
You know?
I'm so glad that you shared your stories with us. You can meet the authors of Pieces of Tapestry today right after noonday. It's at the Charis Bookstore in Little Five Points. I hope I pronounced that correctly. They'll be reading from the book and signing copies from 1 until 2:30 this afternoon. Please drop on by. And thank you for dropping by noonday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Don't go away. We've got a lot of fun foot stomping family event to tell you about. It's happening up at the lake this weekend. Stick around.